Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from the third canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter number 29, entitled Explanation of Devotional Service. I'll begin just by reading text number 8. You can all see, it's here but it's behind you. You'll be able to repeat from there? Okay. So I'll recite this verse, we'll do the translation. Today we'll do slightly different. I'll speak some things and then we'll read parts of the translations and Prabhupada's purport. But we'll just begin by reciting 8 together. So if you can repeat after me. Abhisandhaya yo himsam dambam matsaryameva va samrambhi bhinadrig bhavam mayi kuryat satamasaha abhisandhaya yo himsam dambam matsaryameva va samrambhi bhinadrig bhavam Mayi kuryat satamasaha abhisandhaya yo himsa dambam matsaryameva va samrambhi bhinadrik bhavam mayi kuryat satamasaha Abhisandhaya yo himsam dambam matsaryameva va samrambhi bhinadrik bhavam mayi kuryat satamasaha Abhisandhaya yo himsam Abhisandhaya yo himsam Abhisandhaya, having in view, Yaha, he who, Himsam, violence, Dambham, pride, Matsaryam, envy, Eva, indeed, Va, or, Samrambhi, angry, Bhina, separate, Drik, whose vision, Bhavam, devotional service, Mai, to me, Kuryat, may do, Saha, he, Tamasaha, in the mode of ignorance. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent, and angry, and who is a separatist, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. Purport. It has already been stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd Chapter, that the highest, most glorious religion is the attainment of causeless, unmotivated devotional service. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is not actually a motive, that is the pure condition of the living entity. In the conditioned stage, when one engages in devotional service, one should follow the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master in full surrender. The spiritual master is the manifested representation of the Supreme Lord, because he receives and presents the instructions of the Lord as they are by disciplic succession. It is described in Bhagavad Gita that the teachings therein should be received by disciplic succession, otherwise there is adulteration. To act under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master with a motive to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pure devotional service. But if one has a motive for personal sense gratification, his devotional service is manifested differently. Such a man may be violent, proud, envious, and angry, and his interests are separate from the Lord's. One who approaches the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, but who is proud of his personality, envious of others, or vengeful, is in the mode of anger. He thinks that he is the best devotee. Devotional service executed in this way is not pure. It is mixed and is of the lowest grade, dharmasaha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur advises that a Vaishnav who is not of good character should be avoided. A Vaishnav who has not taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. But if one is not pure and still has motives, then he is not a Vaishnav of the first order of good character. One may offer his respects to such a Vaishnav because he has accepted the Supreme Lord in the ultimate goal of life, but one should not keep company with a Vaishnav who is in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalan Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jiva Goswami tells us, how do you understand what is the ultimate purpose behind spiritual literature? He says you have to see what is glorified at the beginning, what is glorified at the end, what is highlighted in the middle, and what is the constant theme in every single chapter of that book. Then you will understand what is actually the purpose of the literature. Therefore, if we look at the Bhagavatam, what is glorified at the very beginning when the question is asked, what is the ultimate good for all living entities? Save pumsham paro dharmo yato bhakti radoksaje ahaitoki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The ultimate thing is to attain love for God, and such love must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to fully satisfy the self. What is glorified at the end of the Bhagavatam? Nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. It is mentioned that the final word of the Bhagavatam is that one should engage in Nam Sankirtan to free themselves of all sinful reactions and thereby awaken pure bhakti to the Lord. So again, pure bhakti is mentioned. What is right in the middle of the Bhagavatam, 6th canto, we are hearing about Ajamil. And Ajamil is saved by the Vishnu Dutas at the final moment, and by that mercy he is able to awaken pure love for Krishna. Again, pure love for Krishna is being mentioned. And then in every single canto of the Bhagavatam, what is the constant teaching that is given in every canto? Pure love for Krishna. And therefore, the Bhagavatam is a book, Jiva Goswami says, which is simply and only aimed at attaining pure love for Krishna. Here, Kapila Dev is giving instructions to Devahuti on how to actually attain pure love for Krishna. Stand up. Pure love for Krishna can be attained when one understands the means, one has the teachings, one has the necessary insight to be able to understand the activities that they have to do to attain pure love for Krishna. In the Bhagavatam, so many stories are given to help us understand that one may be qualified in so many ways, but that doesn't mean anything. What really matters is how much love one has for Krishna. According to qualification, one may think a Brahmana is higher than someone of the lower caste. But then what does the Bhagavatam do? It shows us in the very beginning that Sutta Goswami, who is of a lower birth, becomes the instructor of the sages at Naimisharanya, even though they are Brahmanas. Because it doesn't matter if one is of lower birth. What matters is that someone has love for Krishna. The Bhagavatam shows us that it doesn't matter if there's a sannyasi who seemingly is higher qualified than a grihastha, because if a grihastha has love, then they outshine the sannyasi. And the example is Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. Because Durvasa Muni was a tyagi, yet Ambarish showed a level of spiritual accomplishment that meant that Durvasa Muni had to ultimately come and surrender unto him and beg for his forgiveness. Some people think by qualification men are higher than ladies. So then the Bhagavatam comes with so many stories where we see that ladies, because of their spiritual accomplishment, are considered superior to their male counterparts. When Krishna, Balaram and the Gopas were hungry, then the Vedic Brahmanas would not give anything, but the wives gave everything. Not just that, they gave them very selves. And thereby Krishna showed they are more advanced. One may think that by qualification a king is more qualified, more accomplished than a pauper. But then Jada Bharat is holding the palanquin of King Rahugana. And finally Rahugana has to come off the palanquin and say, "Who are you? You are so amazing. Please instruct me." And Jada Bharat instructs Rahugana on how to control his mind. One may think all of this is true, but definitely demigods are higher than demons, right? By qualification. So then what does the Bhagavatam show? That Vitrasura comes face to face with Indra, and Vitrasura shows that he is a more accomplished devotee, even though in a demoniac family, because he has bhakti. So therefore, never judge someone on their externals. What really matters is how much love they have in their heart. One may have ability, one may have a birth, one may have knowledge, one may have tapasya. But the Bhagavatam says, "Na sadhayati mam yogo na sankhya dharma uddhava na svadhyayas tapastyago yatha bhaktir mamorjita." None of this means anything. None of this controls Krishna. None of this attracts Krishna's attention and conquers his heart. Yatha bhaktir mamorjita. But by bhakti, the ajita becomes conquered. So therefore, the goal of life is very simple, to somehow or other attain some love for Krishna. Jai Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundar ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. If you're tired, stand up. If you're tired, stand up. So, in this way, the Bhagavatam is establishing that love is the real thing. Srila Prabhupada has a very, very famous lecture where he talks about Sanatana Goswami, who is exchanging with his deity Madan Mohan. Finally, Srila Prabhupada says, what can we offer to Krishna? We have nothing to offer to Krishna. But Krishna is kindly accepting if we offer it with love. Prabhupada said, love is the real thing. He says, don't be proud. Just try to offer with love. Becomes very emotional. And in this way, all we can really offer Krishna is our love. But the reality is that for most people, even when engaged in devotional service, their service is tinged by many, many different modes and many, many different conditionings. And therefore, in this section of the Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev is revealing to Devahuti the different modes of material nature which can affect one's devotional service. In this 29th chapter, he explains devotional service in ignorance, passion, and goodness. And then what happens, according to Sridhar Swami in Bhavarta Deepika commentary, he says that then devotional service in ignorance, passion, and goodness is depicted in the next 3 stories of the Bhagavatam. Because in the beginning of the 4th canto, we hear about devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Because which story do we read? Anyone remember? What is the first story which appears in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam? Who is reading the Bhagavatam? Is it? No? No? Shiva, Sati, and Daksha. Sati is married to Daksha, and in this way, later on, Daksha, he offends Shiva, isn't it? He says so many nasty things when Daksha comes into the sacrificial arena and Shiva does not stand up. Then Daksha feels offended. And therefore Daksha says so many things to Shiva, cursing, counter-cursing. So according to Sridhar Swami, this displays devotional service in the mode of ignorance. The next story of the 4th canto displays devotional service in the mode of passion, because that story is all about Dhruva Maharaj. The next story of the 4th canto reminds us that yes, Dhruva Maharaj, he also felt offended. And then what did he want? He wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. And of course, he went to the forest. Stana bilasi tapasi stitoham. He went and he took his place there in the forest and engaged in tapasya with the abhilas, the desire to get a stan, a planet or a place greater than his great-grandfather. And therefore the second story of the 4th canto relates to devotional service in the mode of passion. And the 3rd story of the 4th canto is who? Prithu. So Prithu is devotional service in the mode of goodness, because he is doing yagyas. And even when he's done 99 yagyas and Indra becomes very, very fearful that he will surpass him, then later on Prithu realizes, I've done my duty, just let it go. And therefore devotional service for the purpose of purification out of detachment. So here in these 3 verses, Kapila Dev is explaining how does one understand the quality of their devotional service? How does one understand what mode is affecting their devotional service? Therefore these descriptions are given. In text number 12, or text number 10 purport, Srila Prabhupada says something interesting. I'll just read it to you. Srila Prabhupada says, devotional service in the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness can be divided into 81 categories. So Srila Prabhupada says there are 81 categories of devotional service. So in his commentary, Sridhar Swami actually decodes what are these 81 categories. And he says basically there are 3 modes within which you can perform devotional service. And within those 3 modes, there are 3 divisions. 3 times 3 equals 9. So he says there are basically 9 modes of devotional service. And then how many processes of devotional service are there? 9. So then 9 times 9 is 81. So if you look at this verse, within ignorance, the mode of ignorance, devotional service, there are 3 types of bhakti. If you look at the Sanskrit here, himsam bhakti means bhakti in violence. Dambham bhakti means bhakti in pride. And matsarya bhakti means bhakti in envy of others. So these are the 3 lowest types of devotional service. The first thing is devotional service committing violence to others. Sometimes one feels, I am serving God, but what they're simultaneously doing is they're hurting devotees. They're hurting non-devotees. This is the lowest type of devotional service because it goes counterintuitive to everything Krishna says. Because Krishna says that if you worship me, you're not my devotee. But if you worship my devotee, then actually you're my devotee. But one in complete ignorance is violent towards the devotees and then thinking that they're pleasing God. We see this in the world today. People who think that loading themselves up with explosives and then going and killing a bunch of people and their own selves in the process, of course, to please God, is a good thing. This is considered devotional service of the lowest type in the mode of ignorance, himsam bhakti. And similarly, if we are practicing devotional service, but it is causing pain to another devotee, then we can understand that tinges of this are also coming into our bhakti. Then dambham bhakti means devotional service in pride, where one is thinking, I am so good. This is also completely counterintuitive to bhakti, because what is bhakti? If one actually has it, they'll be becoming humble. Premera svabhava yaha premera sambandh, say mane Krishna moran nahi prema gandh. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Premera svabhav, the very svabhav or the very nature of prema, say mane, the devotee feels, Krishna mora nahi prema gandh. I don't have even one drop of love for Krishna. So one is so steeped in ignorance that in their devotional service they're becoming more and more proud, thinking that they are becoming more and more accomplished, when the real sign of accomplishment is that one is thinking themselves to be actually more and more low and fallen. Therefore, this is the mode of ignorance, pride. Pride and bhakti cannot go together. In fact, the acharyas say dainya, humility, and prema nourish each other. Therefore, if one is becoming proud, one can understand that the absolute opposite is happening. And matsaryam means envy. If one is practicing devotional service but they're feeling envious of others, they're feeling bad to see another person's success, they're feeling insecure when someone else is pleasing Krishna, then we can understand that envy is residing within the heart. This again is completely counterintuitive, because what is the goal of a devotee's life? The goal of a devotee's life is that Krishna should be happy. So if someone is pleasing Krishna, if someone is making Krishna happy, and that person feels bad because of envy, then it means they've not understood anything about bhakti. Because if Krishna is happy, why will he not be happy? Whether I make Krishna happy or someone else makes Krishna happy, the point is Krishna should be happy. And therefore, Matsarya Bhakti is the complete opposite. So you can begin to see why these three qualities show that this is actually devotion in the lowest, most darkest mode. Now, if you look at the next verse, then it's mentioned in text number 9, Vishayan abhisandhaya yasha aishvaryameva va archada varchayed yomam pritag bhava sarajasaha. I don't know if you can bring it on the screen. Is it possible? Bring it? No. Anyway, if you can. In the next verse, devotional service in the mode of passion is described. So devotional service in the mode of passion, just like ignorance, has three qualities. The first type of devotional service in the mode of passion, here you will see, is coming up now, just now coming. So here you can see the first word here is Vishayan, Vishayan Bhakti, then Yasha Bhakti, and then Aishvaryam Bhakti. These are the three types of bhakti in passion. Vishayan means that one is doing bhakti but they want some sense gratification. They're doing bhakti pretending it's for Krishna, but actually what they're trying to do is satisfy their own senses. And therefore, although they make a show of devotion, what is really on their mind is that they want to take God out of the picture and they want to be the center of enjoyment. But to the world, they show that it's all for Krishna. This is said to be devotional service in the mode of passion. Then there is Yasha Bhakti. Yasha Bhakti means devotional service where one is seeking fame. One wants to be recognized. Of course, a real devotee wants Krishna to be famous. They want to reveal to the world how amazing Krishna is. But one in the mode of passion, while pretending to glorify Krishna, actually wants to bring themselves into the limelight. In Sanskrit, praise is known as stuti, isn't it? Stuti has a double meaning. Stuti also means an unmarried girl. So the acharyas say, just as an unmarried girl, if there is a boy who is very, very interested in her, then she is not interested. But an unmarried girl, if there is a boy and he is not interested in her, then she becomes very interested. He should be interested in me. So similarly, they say praise is like that. If you want it so much, if you're seeking it, then praise will run far away from you. But the devotee who doesn't want any praise, the devotee who doesn't want any fame, the devotee who doesn't want any limelight, fame follows them. They can't do anything about it. The example is Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was someone who the Lord himself stole a pot of sweet rice because he was thinking, what does it taste like? And later on, when they came and said, where is Madhavendra Puri? The Lord has stolen a pot of sweet rice for you. He became so overwhelmed that, oh my God, I'm so fallen, but the Lord has stolen a pot of sweet rice for me. But then his immediate thought was, I need to get out of this place because people will start praising me. And so he ran away and he went to Jagannath Puri. But before he even reached Jagannath Puri, word had reached, Madhavendra Puri is a great devotee. And there were crowds. So he could not run away from his fame. Because stuti, fame, follows those who don't want it. But in the mode of passion, yasha bhakti, one wants fame, one wants to be recognized. One wants their name to be known to the world. There are so many devotees, we don't hear about them because they didn't want their name to be mentioned. It's said actually that Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he gave information to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write Chaitanya Charitamrita on one condition, that never write my name in the book. So like that, the devotees are very, very conscious of this. And finally, the third type of devotional service in passion is Aishwarya Bhakti. One is expecting many, many material facilities. One is expecting many, many material arrangements. One is expecting that the Lord should provide material solutions, material situations, and material benefits for all the devotional service they have done. Therefore, this is often the prayer of people who come to a temple or a church or a mosque, that they come expecting, asking, desiring. I have given, now you also give to me. I want a house by the sea, a color TV, a 50 million gigabyte MP3, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Aishwarya Bhakti. Yes, I am serving, so you should also provide some. This is a deal. So this is devotional service in the mode of passion. And then the very next verse, text number 10, tells us what is devotional service in the mode of goodness. There are 3 types of devotional service in the mode of goodness. Karma nirharam is the first one. Yajet is the second one. And parasmin is the third one. Karma nirharam means when we perform devotional service to free ourselves from karmic reactions, to purify ourselves. Can you see? This is a higher grade, but it's still a personal desire. One is feeling, yes, I have done so many things in my life, and now I need to purify my consciousness, I need to purify myself, I need to rid myself of karma, and therefore let me engage in devotional service. Karma nirharam, to relieve oneself of karma. Yajat means to purify the consciousness. Now one is not just thinking I have to purify myself from the reactions, but one is feeling, no, I also need to purify my consciousness, otherwise I'll do more bad things in the future. So it's a higher grade. Therefore one is understanding that if I absorb my mind in Krishna, if I do devotional service, then at least my consciousness will be purified, and therefore I will not entangle and implicate myself further in this material world, and therefore they practice devotional service for that purpose. And parasmin means they perform devotional service with the thought of what they can offer to the Lord. So this is even more selfless. And they are thinking, God has done so much for me, God has given so much to me, therefore parasmin, I should also give something to God. This is devotional service where one is offering in gratitude, and this is higher. So now you can see devotional service in the three modes times 3 divisions. In ignorance we had, number 1, himsam bhakti, which means bhakti with a mood of violence. Then we had dambam bhakti, which is bhakti with a mood of pride. Then we had matsarya bhakti, which is bhakti with a mood of envy. Then in devotional service in the mode of passion, we had aishvarya bhakti, where one is seeking material objects, right? Then there is vishayan bhakti, where one is seeking sense gratification. Then there is yasha bhakti, which means one is seeking fame. Then in devotional service in goodness, there is karma nirharam, where one wants to be good, rid of karma, bad reactions. But later on one is thinking, unless I purify myself, I will again create more reactions. Therefore yajat bhakti is where one is trying to purify their consciousness. And then later on one is realizing it's not just about getting rid of things, I should give something because the Lord has already given so much to me. This is known as parasmin bhakti, where one is offering out of a mood of gratitude. I've been given. However, all of these are still not pure devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada says there are 81 types of devotion. So one can be doing himsa bhakti, matsarya bhakti, aishvarya bhakti while they're worshipping the deity. One can be doing yasha bhakti or karma nirharanam when they're chanting their rounds. Any devotional service that you do, it can be in one of these 9 categories. But Kapila Dev is saying to Devahuti that you have to go beyond all of these. You have to go beyond all these tendencies. Remember, yesterday we said you have to find your impurity. Then you can fight your impurity, and then you can be free of your impurity. And therefore, Kapila Dev is breaking it down for us to understand and give us the power to introspect and see where the contamination lies. Where does the contamination lie in my devotional service, so that we can then make a concerted effort to try to reverse the consciousness and behavior and move to a more selfless type of devotion. Because ultimately, ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati, unless it's unmotivated and uninterrupted, it will not satisfy the self. So no matter what kind of bhakti you do, until and unless it's pure, it will not satisfy the soul in the deepest way. And therefore, it will not satisfy Krishna in the deepest way. And therefore, this purity is necessary. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So many more things can be said on this. But let me pause here and see whether you may have any questions on devotional service in the different modes and how it applies to our lives. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. All your videos and your service. Please accept my humble obeisance.
My obeisance to you.
My question is this. So in my life, I'm an alcoholic. It was very easy for me to surrender that I was an alcoholic. I was on a police car getting arrested. So it was a very clear-cut example for me, and I was able to surrender completely that I'm an alcoholic. I can't live this way anymore. It's just a mess. So when I find in my daily practice and in my devotional service, what I find, like you were saying at the end, with the finding your impurity, I find it's more than one thing. Like it shifts, and when I feel like there's one thing that I'm addressing, then something else pops up. And so that I feel, and this kind of drives me crazy, is that I feel like I'm never completely surrendering to Krishna, if that makes sense. Like I'm like 90% there. There's like pizza slice from being there. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on that topic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, impurities and anarthas are taking a long time to overcome. You see, even when we feel we are very, very close, then sometimes other things appear up which we never thought we had, and then we realize, okay, maybe I'm not as close as I thought. Therefore, the point is that there are certain behaviors which are constantly within us that we can see on a repeated occasion. You see, here we are talking about 9 types of bhakti and 9 kind of impurities as such. And if we do some kind of introspection, then we'll be able to notice repeated patterns of behavior which fall under one or more of these categories. We can look back when I'm doing my service, when I'm doing my sadhana, when I'm relating to devotees, when I come into the Sangha of Vaishnavas. What aspects of these can I notice in myself? And what will happen often is that the behaviors will be repeated. Because old behaviors die hard. It's difficult. So, when we want to cleanse our heart, the first thing is we have to understand the territory of our heart. Everyone has anarthas, but everyone has a different configuration of anarthas. For someone, giving up alcohol was very easy, but giving up perhaps drugs was not. Or for someone else, giving up meat was very easy, but giving up alcohol wasn't. In other words, everyone is different. Everyone is having different anarthas. So we have to understand the territory of my heart. What do I struggle with? What are my weak points? Where do I become vulnerable? What aspects of my behaviors and emotional reactions in situations are very, very conditioned? And therefore we will begin to get an idea of where we're weaker and where we need to improve. And so that type of introspection is required. And some will be very, very subtle. Some you'll be able to see. And some, as time goes by, will become uncovered that, oh no, actually, I do desire some fame. I may do it in a very, very cultured way, but I desire it. I do it in a very, very diplomatic way, but I desire it. And therefore, a devotee has to become very, very introspective. Srila Prabhupada said, a devotee is as introspective as a non-devotee is speculative. But what often happens over time in devotional service is we just think the activities are enough. And we take pride that the activities are there and therefore I'm advancing. When we don't realize that the quality, the consciousness and the heart with which we do those activities is what is the real defining factor. So yes, that internal work, that internal searching of the heart needs to be done. It's okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj, for your ocean of wisdom that you've been sharing with us since yesterday. You talked about how Srila Jiva Goswami, at the beginning you said, how Srila Jiva Goswami says you can understand the purpose of spiritual literature by examining the beginning, the end, the middle, and the theme that runs through every chapter. So I was thinking, and this is a particular struggle of mine, when I'm reading some chapters in Bhagavatam, like the lineages, right? I fail to see the bhakti. My tendency is like, I can't remember the names anyway, 2 seconds after I've read them. Like, so-and-so was the son of so-and-so and the daughter of so-and-so. I'm just skimming through it because I want to get to like the interesting parts.
Yeah.
So how do you see the bhakti in these kind of passages?
Yeah. Of course, Jiva Goswami is saying in every canto there is always the highlight of bhakti. So for example, in the 5th canto where there's great genealogy, there is also highlights of bhakti because we hear, for example, Rishabdev's teachings or Bharat Maharaj or like that. But still, so that's just that point. But also still, where is the bhakti in genealogy? Like, it's just a list of names. Well, the clue is that when these personalities are hearing these genealogies, oftentimes you'll see after the list of names and it says, and so was in ecstasy hearing all of anything. What's so ecstatic about this? Because what's happening is that when they are reading names, they are also remembering the activities, the love, the incredible dedication and example of all of those names of those individuals who they're hearing. Isn't it? Sometimes if you just see the picture of a devotee or you hear their name, then immediately it can bring great joy to your heart, because as soon as you hear their name or as soon as you see their picture, immediately all their devotional qualities come flooding to our hearts. And in that way, for those who actually know these personalities in the genealogy, then the genealogy also becomes very exciting, because the names are like a anubhav, they're like a trigger which causes one to remember devotional service and Krishna. But for us, because we don't know the names, because we don't know the personalities, therefore it doesn't mean much to us. Therefore it's said that Shastra must be read in an integrative way. So say for example, like Kaviraj Goswami says in CC, Krishna Leela is like nectar and Gora Leela is like camphor. And when they come together, it becomes sumadhurya, very, very sweet. So when you understand the Bhagavatam, but one reads all the other Puranas, all the other Shastras in which all of these personalities in the genealogy are being described, then what happens is when they come back to the Bhagavatam and they read those names, it's not just a bunch of unknown names, but it's names in which they're remembering, oh, that devotee, he did that amazing thing, and therefore it awakens a devotional sentiment. So therefore, even the genealogical aspects of the Bhagavatam, for those who actually know the personalities, awakens great devotional sentiments. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you.
Haribol, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My question was about these anarthas like pride and envy that we feel, and we can externally practice to be humble or to be sincere in our service. But then internally, for me personally, I struggle to feel this like internally, that, if I'm not, I won't criticize externally the devotees, but maybe I might have some judgment in my mind, or I might carry some pride in my heart. And I'm wondering how to deal with this, because I'm trying to practice these qualities and I'm trying to pray for them to but I don't know if you have some more guidance.
So we don't feel like this, but then we do it, but internally we feel, I don't embody this quality, so what should we do about that? Well, they say fake it till you make it, but there are footnotes to that. Don't fake it so much that you start thinking you've made it. Don't fake it to convince other people that you've made it. But fake it with a sincere desire, praying to Krishna within to also make it. So, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than think your way into a new way of acting. Generally, what we can work with is our immediate actions. To work on the subtle level and change mentality by force is difficult. But when we work on our activities and we conduct ourselves in our interactions with others and the world in a certain way, then it brings that internal shift of mindset. And therefore, yes, we have to act humble. And we don't feel humble. Inside we feel very, very different. But when we embrace that humility and we see the effect of that humility in how it benefits us in our life, then it helps create an impression that yes, this is the mindset to have. See, say for example, two people are arguing. Then what's happening is as they're arguing, the ego is becoming bigger and bigger, and therefore the wall between them is becoming bigger and bigger. Now, in that argument, if someone takes the bold step to take the humble position, even if they don't feel like it, then what basically happens is that person comes to the other person and says, actually, I'm wrong. Inside they're thinking, this guy's wrong, but anyway, I'm wrong. And then what happens is that the other person looks at them, and that display of humility then awakens some humility in that person. And that person says, well, maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. Then they start arguing about who's wrong. In a nice way. So what happens is that humility basically triggers, that external display of humility triggers something within us by which we actually realize, oh, when I took the humble position, all the ego was taken out of the situation and I actually found a solution. Maybe, just maybe, the Shastra is right. Be more humble than a blade of grass, and maybe life will be a lot easier. Maybe I'll be able to conduct my relationships in a much more beautiful way, because I saw it in front of my eyes that when I took the humble position, many, many beautiful things came from it. Therefore, we are trying to act in the Vaishnava Sangha to imbibe these qualities, because gradually, even doing it externally gives us an internal realization of how beautiful they are. Joyful insignificance. To actually be humble is the most liberating quality in existence. Because you can just, there's no more expectation. A whole load is relieved from you. But to us it feels very hard to be humble. But actually to be humble is the most beautiful and effortless thing in existence, because you basically shed yourself of all these things on you, like expectations, and you just become very light. You just float. Very liberating. But still the mind is protesting. Therefore we have to do it and feel the joy of being insignificant. I don't know if that helps.
Swami, so when we talk about loving Krishna, in the context of loving Krishna, I feel that loving anyone, I feel, it's my opinion, is not something, it's not a deliberation from within. It just comes. It's not something that you have to put effort into. It is there or it's not. And I feel like a lot of times when I'm chanting, I feel like I'm trying to love, but I feel like, it shouldn't be like that. You're trying, so trying is not the correct way of maybe doing it, or maybe I'm aiming for something that's way many 2 steps higher than I should be at the moment. But once again, you mentioned in everything you said that, you have to be loving Krishna, or you have to increase your love for Krishna. I just don't know what the approach towards that is.
Thank you. Very nice question. Once I was giving a class and someone said, Swamiji, do you believe in love marriages or arranged marriages? I was thinking, perfect questions, perfect. It's like, why are you asking me this, Anyway, then I said to the person, do all love marriages have love in them? He said, some do, some don't. I said, do all arranged marriages have love in them? He said, some do, some don't. I said, so the conclusion is, it's not how 2 people come together. It's what 2 people do after they're together. In Vedic culture they say, you don't marry the one you love. You learn to love the one you marry. Now that's an interesting concept, because chemistry may bring people together, but commitment keeps them together. Attraction may bring 2 people together, but sacrifice and service is what actually deepens that relationship. So, in our relationship with Krishna, the first thing to understand is love is already there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunoi Shravana Adi Sudachite Karaye Udoy. Eternal love for Krishna is already established within your heart. You don't need to get it from anywhere. It's there. But right now, it's covered. And therefore, when we say develop your love for Krishna, what we talk about is being committed to Krishna, serving Krishna, hearing and chanting about Krishna, because by that practice of what we call sadhana, sadhana is a very interesting word, sad, dhana, iti, sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice, but etymologically it means your eternal wealth, that which awakens your eternal wealth. And what's your eternal wealth? Your love for Krishna. So therefore Rupa Goswami says, Kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya, sadhya sa sadhana bida, nita siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam ridi sadhyata. From sadhana bhakti, the potentiality for bhav comes. You understand? Bhav means emotion, love. So when you do sadhana, when you practice the angas of bhakti, when you do devotional service, even when sometimes you don't like to do it, but you do it out of a commitment, then what will happen is that the purity will then come out, and then the love will manifest. So you're not creating love for Krishna. Love for Krishna is already there. But what you're doing by that practice is you're removing all the anarthas so that the love can flow. Anartho pashamam shakshad bhakti yoga madoksaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. All these anarthas, they're blocking. Therefore, bhakti yoga madoksaje, by practicing the principles of devotional service, those anarthas are freed. And then it flows. So you don't need to, you're not developing love for Krishna. You already have it. But you're allowing it to flow. And in order to allow it to flow, you have to remove the anarthas and the illusion. And the commitment to Krishna is what is removing that. Does it make sense?
It does, yes.
Oh, okay, go. You have it, so you go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, while you're speaking about anartha nivritti, I was wondering if in case you can please share more light upon how to realize that external faults are not their faults, but it is rather we looking at them like that. How to ignore the faults within
You mean
people.
the faults you see around you?
Yes. How to ignore the faults, those faults, and try to engage in much more loving devotional service or appreciative nature towards them.
So for example, if you feel there are faults in the devotees around you, or if you feel there are faults in the community around you, how do you ignore those faults? I would take a slightly different approach. I don't think we need to ignore the faults. Even Bhagavatam is saying, Kale dosha nide rajan asti hye ko mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Shastra has already confirmed it. So when we see faults around us, it can help us remember, yes, Bhagavatam is right. The world is an ocean of faults. There's so many faults. But what we do as Vaishnavas is we don't focus on the faults, but rather we try to see the good. Yes, there are faults. We could look around at the devotees and see many faults, but we could also see Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashkit Yatati Siddhaye. They are also rare. They are also the unique ones out of the thousands and thousands of people in this world who are actually on this path. Yes, we could look at the Vaishnavas and say, oh Prabhu, Titikshava, Karunika, Surida, Sarva, we're falling short. Or we could look at that devotee and say, where were they 5 years ago? What were they doing? And where are they now? Oh my God, this person has changed. We could focus on that part of their journey, how far they've come from where they were, instead of looking at how far they are from the ideal. Then maybe we can see the fault, but we contextualize the fault in seeing the greatness. So I think when we come to spiritual life, we don't have to just try to become blind to things, but rather we see the bigger picture around it. Yes, there are so many, how can we expect, Srila Prabhupada said, even in the Krishna consciousness movement, don't expect a utopia. So we look around and we think, what's happening here? Everyone's not a pure devotee. Well, Prabhupada said it's a hospital. So it's like going into a hospital saying, what's wrong with this place? Everyone's sick here. Yeah, that's why they're in the hospital. So we have to become realistic. Sometimes we look at our movement and we say, why is there so much division in our movement? But another way you could see it is, isn't it incredible? In our movement, you will not find a more diverse group of people coming together and sitting in the same room. Once we were in a class, and the devotee he said, look around you. If it wasn't for Krishna, would you be friends with any of these people? And we kind of looked around and we were like, my God, we're so different. I probably wouldn't be friends with any of these guys. Because here you are living together, serving together. That's amazing. So we can say, no, why is there so many differences? Or we could say, despite being from such different backgrounds, here we are living together, serving together, eating together. That means it's an amazing thing. Krishna is bringing us together. Do you see? So I don't think we need to ignore the faults. Yes, there are faults. We're in Kali Yuga, after all, what to do? But we can focus on so many good things. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you beautifully described the 9 type of bhakti and pure bhakti, distinguish between that. Also you mentioned that devotee need to introspect himself. So I from myself, I'm from my point of view, I see that from myself, and everywhere Maya is defeating me. Everywhere, every moment also. So if you do the introspection, so how many times we do the introspection at the evening, at the time of the sleeping, before the time of the sleeping, or in the morning? Now, every time you do the inspection, that means, and we are also losing our chanting also, something like that.
You're
Chanting.
losing your? I didn't understand.
Losing
Chanting, oh, you're losing time. Yes. Okay, yeah, I got your point. So
Yes.
I'm telling you introspect.
Yes.
When you're asking when should you do it and you're losing a lot of time in other things. Yeah.
No, losing that time for the introspection also.
Okay.
Right? Sure.
How many times a day should you Okay, so first thing is like when I say introspect on your anarthas, now it's not that all day we should just sit around remembering, how terrible we are, how much lust we have, and how envious we are of the devotees. And there's a difference between introspection and overthinking. This is it's good you raised this point. If you made a table, introspection, overthinking, there are clear ways you can see the difference between them. First way is that introspection is seeing yourself through the eyes of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Overthinking means you just think of yourself with no higher lens, no higher wisdom. Second thing is, introspection leads to some kind of action. Overthinking is just thinking about it and nothing good comes from it. After 1 hour of thinking, you're just like, oh my God, I'm envious. Anyway, what to do? Right. Introspection means you take those thoughts and then you consult with devotees and get their advice on how to improve. But overthinking means you just stay with those thoughts and you don't go anywhere or do anything. You understand? So first thing is there's a difference between introspection and overthinking. Otherwise you are right, it will be paralysis by analysis. Just constantly analyzing and then you become paralyzed. Introspection should make you dynamically grow, improve. And yes, we are not just introspecting, then eventually we have to come out and act. So it's not that the entirety of our life is now introspection. Prabhu, can you wash the pots? No, I'm introspecting. I have to introspect. become, pure. And then once I have introspected my way to Vishuddha Sattva Bhakti, then I will enter the kitchen. No. So we understand, oh, these are my anarthas, I'm angry. Now let me go and wash the pots and do it in great cooperation with the devotees. So it's a balance. One balance is to only do activities, one extreme, no introspection. And other extreme is only introspection, no activities. No, both together. So like this, when we act, but we have to think. Because sometimes, like when you're a kid, children, they're always questioning things, isn't it? They say like, why? Is it because so? Why? Because of? Why? Just because that's the way it is. Why? And again it keeps coming. Always exploring, children, isn't it? But when we grow up, we stop asking. In spiritual life, it's like that as well. When we first came to Krishna consciousness, we were very conscious of everything, isn't it? And then after some time, so we stop thinking. Isn't it? Generally you'll find we had so many more questions in the early days and less questions now. You say, but I've got all the answers. But if you're advancing, there will be more questions as well. Never enter any questions. Anyway, I'm going on. Thank you.
Mataji is there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I heard many times in lectures that we are Kripa Siddhas, not Sadhana Siddhas. Can you please elaborate this?
So just for those not familiar with terminology, so Kripa Siddha means one who attains perfection through mercy. And Sadhana Siddha means one who attains perfection through sadhana. So yes, both are means of perfection, through sadhana, through our own practice, and sometimes through kripa, through great mercy of someone else. So we find examples in our history of both types. Srila Prabhupada said, it's like getting a master's degree at university. One or two people may be awarded, a special type of master's degree, just an honorary degree. They may be sometimes awarded. But most people will have to go through 4 years of study or whatever it is. So if you just wait there for honorary degree, therefore we have to work. But in a higher sense, everyone is a Kripa Siddha. Because all we're doing by all of our sadhana is trying to attract the mercy of Krishna. What was Mother Yashoda doing when she was trying to bind Krishna? She was making such an effort, but it was 2 fingers too short. And then the acharyas say finally she was able to bind Krishna because the first finger was made up by her intense endeavor, and the second finger short was completed by Krishna then bestowing his grace. So in one higher sense we can say everyone is a Kripa Siddha, because without Krishna's mercy, not possible, anything. But it is our endeavor and our practice and our sincere desire which attracts that. So we should do whatever we can, whatever is within our power. And then we hope for Krishna's mercy. Is that okay?
Here. Hare Krishna Maharaj. if we engage in devotional service just for the sheer joy of it, isn't that a selfish form of devotional service?
If we engage in devotional service for the sheer joy of it, isn't that selfish? It's not that we shouldn't enjoy devotional service. Like, it's not that, like Krishna even says in Bhagavad Gita, Susukham kartum avyayam. This is joyfully performed. Srila Prabhupada would often say, this is such a nice process. You just have to dance, chant, take prasadam. It's so nice. So Krishna doesn't want us to be miserable. It's not that Krishna is totally against us having a good time. Some people have that notion of God, isn't it? They say, like, I was once driving and there was a Christian sign, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God. And someone had written beneath it, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was no. Because their concept of religion is no, 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 you can't do this, you can't do that. So if we're enjoying our devotional service, that's not a problem. But we should remember that we should be focused on giving service and enjoyment to Krishna. And actually, when you're giving more service and enjoyment to Krishna, then naturally you will feel that joy yourself. But we shouldn't engage in devotional service for joy, but when we feel that joy, we should try to focus on giving Krishna more joy. Does that make sense? So it's not a crime to enjoy your devotional service. That's very nice. But don't think that that's the goal of it. The goal of it is to give enjoyment to Krishna.
Thank you. So I have another question. You mentioned that when we start the spiritual journey, we ask a lot of questions and then we stop asking. And is that because our sense of surrender increases, or is it that, do we need to have that sort of spirit of inquiry, or do we feel surrendered? Do we need that balance, or how should it be?
Yeah, someone asked me this recently. They said, as we go on in spiritual life, naturally we'll have less questions because we understood the philosophy, we are satisfied by the answers, and we're surrendered to Krishna. However, if one is advancing in devotional service, then it should also mean that they're developing more attraction for Krishna. And if you're developing more attraction for Krishna, then there will be more and more things you're inquisitive and curious and eager to know about Krishna. And therefore, as you go on in devotional service, questions will always be there. But the nature of the question may change. But questions and inquisitiveness is always there. In the beginning, our questions are about clarifying our doubts. But later on, our questions will be to fulfill our heart's curiosity to know, who is Krishna? What does Krishna do? Why did he do it that way? What's the purpose of him acting like this? We become. Therefore, you see, in all of our shastras, they're full of dialogues. The sages of Naimisharanya, they didn't run out of questions. They were the sages of Naimisharanya. But they had so many questions. They kept Sutta Goswami talking for a long time because they had questions. So yeah, questions are always there. Einstein says, never stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. I hope this is not a sign to have an endless Q&A here this morning. We know you are curious. It doesn't have to be endless because I'm sure you want to eat. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So today you talked about 81 types of devotional service. I'm trying to connect with last night's lecture with Maya. If we are performing devotional service in the modes of ignorance and passion, is it true we have already succumbed to one of the tricks of Maya? And is introspection a way of being Maya cautious?
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for connecting the two things. Yeah. Yes, one of the ways that Maya will enter and make us become more, is basically by covering us. And therefore, when Maya covers, basically the modes of nature are covering. That's what the modes of nature are, isn't it? So basically, yesterday we talked about Maya, which is illusion or the material energy. But Maya basically has three qualities, which are the three modes of material nature. So when you perform devotional service, either in ignorance, passion, or goodness, that's Maya's covering. Therefore, even when one's practicing devotional service, one can understand they're being influenced by some level of illusion. Even in the mode of goodness, there's some level of illusion there, because you're still thinking devotional service is something about you. That's some level of illusion still, because it's ultimately not about you at all, it's about Krishna. So yes, these are ways in which Maya may cover us through these three modes. And is introspection a way of being Maya cautious? 100%, definitely. Because it helps us to understand our behaviors, our emotions, our consciousness. When we introspect, we understand what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. When we become introspective, we understand what are the environments and habitats in which I become weak. And therefore, we become much more equipped to resist the attacks of Maya. So yes, you have made two nice connections there. Very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. This is kind of going to circle in a lot of the different pieces that have been talked about between yesterday and today. If an individual I think every experience presents both parties the opportunity to grow in some way. So if one individual is engaging in devotional service sincerely as they can, another individual is feeling jealousy because this individual is having an opportunity that they're not. That individual has jealousy, anartha, to deal with, but the sincere devotee is also unintentionally causing an offense. So how...
Unintentionally causing it?
Kind of causing an offense, because you're causing distress in someone else that ultimately they could grow from. So you proceed forward with caution, with compassion. This is mercy giving me the opportunity for service, for association. Compassionately, I understand it's causing someone else distress that they're not getting that opportunity, as opposed to it's going to cause more conflict within, the ashram or the relationship or the friendship. So back away from it, from the service opportunity. That makes sense.
Thank you. So if someone is practicing devotional service sincerely, nicely, and it causes another person around them to be envious, how should that person relate to that envious person? Should they back away? Should they help them? Yeah, devotee understands that even when someone is envious towards me, even when someone is aggressive towards me, Well, two things. The devotee first understands that I need to go through that experience. It's good for me that someone channels that energy towards me, because if I use it in the right way, it can help me to become more sincere and strong in my own devotional service. Even when someone criticizes you and they say something that's completely wrong, we can still take it that Krishna is warning me what I shouldn't do in the future. In other words, you can take even the criticism or the negativity of an irrational person directed towards you. If you're in elevated spiritual consciousness, you can even use that to fortify your own devotion. And on the other hand, how should you relate to them? Well, you should see that anyone who harbors envy, anyone who harbors jealousy, they're the ones who are actually suffering the most. It's because of a stagnancy in their own spiritual life. And therefore the most evolved devotees, it awakens compassion. Because envy means suffering, jealousy means suffering, anger means suffering. And therefore the most elevated devotees, when a Mogha chastised or criticized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for eating too much, then later on he got cholera. Cholera, I think. Right? Yeah. And then later on Mahaprabhu, when he was in bed, Mahaprabhu came to him and so compassionately he put his hand on his heart and he said, the heart is supposed to be very, very pure. Why have you allowed envy to reside here? So Mahaprabhu was feeling great compassion. So a devotee, when they see the negativity of someone else, it's incredible. The most saintly devotees, it actually awakens compassion. Because they think, oh my God, this person is just suffering. They're so envious. They're suffering. So we may not be there. If we're not there to be able to act in such an elevated state, then we may just keep a distance and respect from a distance. But ultimately, a devotee, they never hate the diseased, they hate the disease. So they're able to separate those two things, the issue from the person. And they never take it personally. These are all very high things. Easy to say, hard to live. But that's what a Vaishnava is. Does the person hold that compassion and proceed forth? Of course, if you feel that you can actually help, that that person is open to being helped, and that you can, if you can do some service, why not? Definitely. Vaishnava is always ready to serve. But one may feel, no, this person is not ready, they're closed, or it may create another strain in the relationship, then you may stay back. So that's, a Vaishnava is always ready to serve where there's an opportunity to serve. So you have to see whether that opportunity is open. Yes.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. Today we discuss about devotional service and the three different guna can be performed. So how we should have association with devotees who are inflicted with certain, qualities, and also recognizing the fact that we are all in hospital and we encouraged to serve each other and associate with each other. And also how we can get the best benefit from who to get the best result in our advancement in devotional service.
Thank you. So Srila Prabhupada says in the last line of the purport that we read, one may offer his respects to such a Vaishnav who's in the mode of ignorance, because he has accepted the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal of life, but one should not keep company with a Vaishnav who is in the mode of ignorance. We're living in a society, we have to respect everyone. We have to see everyone here has accepted and advanced on the journey. They are all unique souls, and they all are worthy of my respect. Yet, one must decide very carefully, who will I spend my time with? Who will I allow into my life? Who will I draw inspiration and instruction from? Because the quality of your association will determine the quality of your devotion. And therefore, we don't go around excommunicating people in the Sangha. We respect all of them. But we always gravitate towards those who nurture our devotion and inspire us in beautiful ways. And the second thing is that a Vaishnava is always open. So even if someone is not a beneficial association for them now, they're always open to the fact that should that person evolve and change and improve, then we can have a relationship. Why not? In other words, there's never any permanent closing the doors on any relationship. So I think in a Sangha, when we are like that, then we're able to respect everyone, live as a community, have dynamic relationships, and remain inspired. So Prabhupada says respect, but don't necessarily associate with such a person. But then sometimes, like you may be in a position where you can help someone. So also the other aspect I'll also say is this. In a Sangha, don't just look at what you can get. I want to get good association. Yes, that's nice. But also look in a Sangha, what can I give? So maybe there is a Vaishnav who's struggling, and we may then just have a one-eyed vision that I can't get anything good from this Vaishnav, therefore let me just steer clear. But we can also ask ourselves, what can I give to this Vaishnav? And then when we do that kind of giving, then not only do we help that Vaishnav, but we also nurture our own devotion in another beautiful way. Otherwise, what will happen is if we just looking at what we can get, then maybe certain devotees won't also get the support that they need. Therefore, we should always be kind and also ask, what can I give? How can I help? How can I make a positive contribution? And that's also another way of beautifully associating in a safe way with someone who may be struggling. Okay. Thank you. I think we should end there. What to do? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So let's thank again His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj with a loud Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. These are some of Maharaj's books. Maharaj, you can talk a little bit about the books. We are going to take pre-orders.
Sure. So these are some of the books that we've written. Some of them are guides on Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of them are articles. Some of them are handbooks on practicing Krishna consciousness. So yeah, you can have a look on the website.
Okay. So we'll take pre-orders of the books. Sorry we could not have books available here. Tomorrow we'll have some books available for display here. Tomorrow the program starts at 6:30 as part of our Sunday feast program. So you are welcome to attend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please take prasad. Anybody wanting a book, they can come and see me, or yeah. These are some of the books: Gita 3, Tattva,
Somebody